Welcome to the People's National Congress Reform Press Conference for April 25th, 2025. Joining today's presser is none other than Mr. Aubrey C. Norton, Member of Parliament, leader of the People's National Congress Reform, APNU, and the Parliamentary Opposition, and Mr. Sherwin Benjamin, General Secretary of the People's National Congress Reform. Today's press statement will be read by the leader.
There must be justice and accountability for the senseless murder of Adriana Young. The PNCR/APNU is extremely saddened and outraged by the tragic and senseless murder of 11-year-old Adriana Young, whose lifeless body was mysteriously discovered in the pool of the Doubleday Hotel in Tucson on April 24th, 2025. Our hearts go out to Adriana's family, friends, the community, and the entire country as we grapple with this unimaginable loss and the attempted cover-up by the PPP-controlled and corrupt Guyana Police Force. It is apposite to note that this is the second such crime at the said venue. The Guyana Police Force is clearly complicit in the attempted cover-up of this crime and cannot be trusted or allowed to investigate this crime. Let us recall the management of the Guyana Police Force in Region 3 looked to get residents to go and sleep and leave the crime scene open so that there could have been a cover-up. They went as far as providing false information to the public with the aim of getting the people to remove from the crime scene. The visit and promises of President Irfaan Ali cannot be taken seriously, since he said the same thing in the murder of the Henry boys, Harry Singh, Orin Boston, Quindon Bacchus, Ronaldo Peters, Keon Fagini, and now Adriana Young. President Ali must recognize that his unfulfilled promises, the police force incompetent and being complicit in crime and cover-up of crime, have resulted in a loss of confidence in the law enforcement and justice systems in Guyana. The president must therefore fire the commissioner of police and invite the FBI or some other reputable international law enforcement body to investigate this heinous crime. The invitation of a pathologist by the president to perform the post-mortem is unacceptable and must not be accepted by all fair-minded Guyanese. The pathologist should be one that the family and community are comfortable with, and one who is independent of the government and the Guyana Police Force, since they both appear complicit in the attempt to cover up this crime. Adriana went missing on April 23rd, and conflicting reports from the Guyana Police Force only added to the distress experienced by her loved ones and the community at large. The casual dismissal of the seriousness of this investigation, coupled with inadequate responses from the authorities, is a reflection of the increased number of systemic failures that plagued our nation under this government. It is alarming that in the aftermath of such a tragedy, the General Secretary of the PPP chose to divert attention to unrelated matters during his weekly press conference, while the community and country mourn the senseless loss of a child's life. This displays an appalling level of insensitivity, arrogance, and highlights the uncaring nature of a government and illustrates how disconnected they are from the grief of the Guyanese citizens. Historically, we have seen recurring incidents of violence and injustices ranging from the death of the Henry boys to the unprovoked killing of Orrin Boston by police, and most recently, the tragic loss of life of youths in Linden at the hands of law enforcement. Each time, empty promises of investigations are made. On all occasions so far, there has been no meaningful outcomes. This is deeply troubling and indicative of a failure to hold those responsible accountable for their crimes. The PNCRA PNU passionately believe that accountability is paramount. The time has come for this government to acknowledge its failure to foster an environment where such horrors cannot occur without consequences. We reiterate our call for the immediate dismissal of the Commissioner of Police and those complicit in this systemic failure to protect our children and all citizens. Additionally, we demand that the owner and all others involved in and complicit in this senseless murder of an innocent child at the Double D Hotel be held fully responsible for their part in this egregious crime and face the justice system. As we stand with the family of Adriana Young during this dark hour, we urge every Guyanese to reflect on the state of morality in our D-land under this regime. We call on Guyanese to unite in rescuing our country in the face of continued moral decay, executive lawlessness, indecency, and injustices. Those who worship, we ask you to pray for our country. The very soul of our nation is at stake. We also urge all Guyanese to note the amount of unemployed youths that were in the community yesterday. This is a clear indictment of the incompetent and corrupt Ali regime. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'll open the floor for questions, of course, by the raise of hand and name of media house.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you. You can go ahead.
Yeah. The common leader, would you say how many government officials were at the scene yesterday, at least as reported to you?
I am told at one time the Minister of Social Protection was there. I saw pictures suggesting that the Education Minister was at the family. I don't know if it's at the scene. And I heard that the President was there.
And how do you explain the destruction of the hotel and I heard the owner's home in the presence of such a police force?
I have said before that the executive lawlessness in the society, the serious allegations of corruption against the Ghana police force, and the fact that many promises are made to investigate and bring people to justice and nothing happened, create a situation where people became hopeless. The poor handling of it by the police and the authorities fueled it. And so I think people, cognizant of the fact that the government will come and talk and there will be no justice, decide to pursue their own justice. I think that is the reality of what occurred.
It's not, sorry, anybody else?
Go ahead, Mr. Harris.
The other thing is that obviously there is need for some legal recourse. No, we know what happened. We know how the police behaved and all of that. My question, sir, is what kind of legal support is the party prepared to offer to the family of this dead girl?
We are prepared to give as much as we can, and I think we could. Um, Darren Wade, who is a member of the party, was already engaged, and there are other legal persons in the party we will engage to help the family.
The floor is still open.
Perhaps I can continue.
Go ahead.
The, this body, I mean, they had people in the hotel compound that I would assume. How is it that someone could have dumped the body in the hotel in the presence of witnesses, if there were any there at the time, or if all the people were out on the road? And I saw a report this morning which said that there is evidence that the child did not die in the pool, and that the police attempted to divert the crowd at one stage. How do you explain such an action on the part of the police and the hotel owners?
Like I said before, this is not the first case that the police force has been complicit in helping to cover crimes. In fact, had it not been for the insistence of the public, the police would have already provided false information that would have resulted in people moving away from the scene, and that would have created the conditions for them to fabricate whatever they fabricated. It is the insistence of the public that they will go nowhere and the family that placed them in a situation where they could not get the body out of there to put the crime at another scene. And I believe with all that emerged, they were compelled to find some way to get the body into the pool, which is what they did. But the evidence suggests that there was no incident that occurred in the pool. And you would have seen from video footage that the night before and early the morning, the next day, there were checks, there was no one in the pool. And so clearly, it's an attempt to cover up and to create some form of doubt in the minds of people as to how the child died.
Thank you.
How is it that no one saw when the body was dumped? Could you hazard a guess?
Well, I wouldn't hazard a guess. What I was told by people while I was on the scene is that after the people searched and so, and I think the fire started, it was evident that they had to get the body out of the building. And it is in that process I was told when I was there that somebody said they saw like, and I'm giving you the exact words they used, a man with a body throwing the body in the pool and then ran. And then the citizens went and saw that the body had appeared in the pool, which they had searched before.
All right. The floor is open for any other questions. All right. I don't see the hand of any other reporter. With that being said, I do believe we will come to the end of this press conference, and I want to thank our media personnel, as always, for joining.
Hello?
Ms. Garnett?
Sorry, I was having difficulty putting on the mic.
Okay, you can go ahead.
If you, I'm sorry to cut you. My question, I know you guys gave a statement on the Adriana Young situation, but that was one of two situations we saw played out over the past few days that were major national occurrence. There was also the issue of Miss La Cruz and her family who died. Can Mr. Norton speak on what are the party's thoughts of the domestic violence situation in the country and how your party can contribute to sensitization of this situation, and what, if any, plans would your party have going forward to contribute to the situation of domestic violence that we see happening in this country?
Well, at the center of all of this is the Guyana Police Force. The Guyana Police Force has to become a credible institution and be prepared to deal with crime regardless of what the crime is. Domestic violence has many elements: mental health, economic, we can name them. And therefore, there is need for a comprehensive approach. From the information I had at my disposal, the family did engage the police on this issue, and it is well recorded that the man told them that he was going to kill them. And therefore, there was no inaction on the part, no action, sorry, or there was inaction on the part of the police. We have always opposed domestic violence. When we were in government, we work assiduously to reduce it, but it is not a simple issue, especially if you factor in like the mental health dimension. So one has to first sensitize the population, and I will admit some of that would have occurred, but you need a dedicated professional unit in the Guyana Police Force to deal with this particular type of crime. Additionally, we have to address the plight of the poor in this country, because once you become poor, once you are poor, more so if you are dependent on a person for existence, you tend not to want to come out of a situation characterized by domestic violence. And that puts a lot of young women and women generally in a very vulnerable position. As a political party, we have always been in support of the victims, but we do believe the solution lies in government developing appropriate policies and programs to deal with domestic violence, and that there is probably also a need for some kind of training to address the mindset of some men. And notice I say some men and not all, for them to understand that their counterpart is a human, their counterpart might be vulnerable, but that does not give you the right to be abusive, and for the police to take early action once an abuse is reported. There is also probably the need for the setting up of special homes to help and protect them until the person or persons get to safety. The problem is we respond after persons would have died or abused rather than being proactive and attempting to solve the problem or help with the problem.
Thank you. The floor is still open if there is any other question.
And I want to make it clear here, we are not in support of the destruction of property, but we want to make it very clear that if the government and the police force, if they continue to try to throw these incidents under the carpet, they themselves are creating the conditions for people to take the law into their own hands. And that is unfortunate and must be dealt with.
Thank you.
While you're at it, sir, the people have moved to the courts to challenge the appointment of Clifton Hicken as commissioner. Would you say what is the state of that move to the court, sir?
I think it is at the appeal level, I'm not too sure. But the issue here right now is not the appointment. He has been appointed and he has proven to be a failure. And that is what is the issue. And therefore, as he manifests his incompetence and that he would have failed the people of Guyana, the government should remove him as Commissioner of Police.
Point to note is that all of these failures on the part of the commissioner has occurred within a 3-month period. As you know, it is established in employment law that persons are given a probationary period of 3 months to prove their competence and then retained. 3 months into, before 3 months into his substantive appointment, we've had a series of issues, and yet the government kept him on the job. It is high time now that this government, any serious employer, will move to summarily dismiss the person for incompetence, and we're calling on the government to do that. Mr. Hicken has proven his incompetence, and the only solution to this is to get rid of Mr. Hicken and have somebody who's competent and can do the work, and so they need to do that.
Sorry, but Ms. Norton, did you say the matter was at some appeal?
I said I'm not so
Was there
sure.
an-
I said I'm not so sure. The last time I think I talked with a lawyer, they said it was being appealed. And I recall them talking about it's going to case management. I must submit, I haven't spoken to them on this issue recently.
But what is being appealed? Was there an earlier decision or something?
There, we had challenged the appointment of him having been acting and not as a substantive position. We had challenged that extent, that now confirmation of him as commissioner, in which the Chief Justice, in her normal style in recent times, ruled in favor of the government, and I think that was being challenged.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, with there being no other questions, I want to thank our media personnel for joining today's presser, and we do hope that you manage to somehow still enjoy this weekend.